But now we are going to move into our roundtable discussion. So I have three amazing business owners with me. They're all sitting across the table. And I have Zac, Jeri, and Mike. And they're going to each take about 30 seconds to introduce themselves. So Jeri, would you like to go first?
Sure. I'm Jeri Schlickbernd, and my husband and I own 5 businesses that all revolve around investment, real estate investment. So we own DVG Realty, Orange Property Management, Schlick Construction, Solid Roofing, and Dream Investing Capital Group.
Awesome. Zac?
My name's Zac Triemert, and president and head distiller at Brickway Brewery Distillery in Omaha's Old Market. We've been down there for about 7 years now, making terrific beer and lovely whiskey. Wish we had some whiskey right now.
It'll be after. We'll be after the summit's over. We'll pour one. All right. And Mike?
Thank you, Taylor. Mike Mapes, and my wife and I own the Alliance Group. We started it in 1997. This is our 23rd year of being in business.
Okay, perfect. And just for some context, to give the audience maybe just a little bit more background on yourself, where you're from, kind of the journey and the path that it took to become the entrepreneur that you are today.
So I'm originally from Nebraska. I lived for 10 years in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I started my real estate career. And then it was that time of life where my sister started having babies, and she lived back here. And so I moved back here to Omaha, met my husband 2 days later, and started my business. We started investing that same year, flipping houses. And so we both owned our businesses about 20 years, but we started working together about 10 years ago when we met, and started with house flipping. We still do house flipping. We also flip apartment buildings and own apartment buildings. It's been a fun journey. We decided to gear our businesses towards investing rather than just traditional real estate, because we realized that's where we were creating our wealth, and we wanted to help other people, friends and family, and the public now do the same thing. So that's how we got started, and it's fun and interesting. And there's years like this where sometimes you have moments where you question it all, but, but it's going well. It's going well, and we love it.
Good, awesome. Thanks, Jeri.
I should also add, my favorite role is mother. I have 3 small children, 6, 4, and 1.
Wow.
So that keeps me busy in addition to all those businesses.
Yeah, I'm sure. We're gonna get back to that, because we want to know just our last segment with Andy Neary this morning he was really keen on the time management piece of how you kind of craft your perfect day. So
Yeah.
we'd love to hear how you do that while wearing all
the
the
mommy
hats.
guilt is a real thing.
Awesome. Zach, what about you?
I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I went to Wisconsin and did my undergrad degrees in microbiology and chemistry. Tried to get a job in brewing, and there wasn't any. This is 25 years ago. And so I worked as a microbiologist for Cargill. They moved me here in 1999. Never expected to stay, and got the brewing bug. So I became head brewer at Upstream for about 6 years. Loved it. Decided I wanted to start Nebraska's first distillery. So I moved to Scotland and earned master's degrees in brewing and distilling. Came back and started Lucky Bucket in the Solus Distillery. Grew Lucky Bucket, the biggest brewery in the state. And then in 2012, I sold it. I took a year off, drank a lot. And then I started Brickway down in the Old Market 7 years ago.
Awesome.
Love what I get to do every day.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mike, what about you?
Zach, we would call that market research.
Yes.
Just helping you with the euphemism. I did a lot of market research in college.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Norfolk, Nebraska, and if you're from Nebraska, you know I pronounced it correctly. And I've always had my own business. I think started out with paper routes and mowing lawns and selling Christmas cards door to door. I mean, I'm not making this up. I think I was in 6th or 7th grade, and somehow I decided I'm going to sell Christmas cards door to door. So I did. And I also sold firewood for 3 or 4 years. And in college, I had a typing service, the typewriter. For those of you who are younger than 50, there's a thing called a typewriter that we had to use prior to computers. And I've always had my own business, and what was interesting about the Alliance Group is it allowed me to live vicariously through our clients and other business owners, because that gives me that variety that I've always craved, and I can still stay in the same business and still help them, and we have a wide variety of clients, and it's just been wonderful helping them over the years.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm glad that everyone had a chance to introduce themselves and the audience gets a chance to know you a little bit better. Today's topic of conversation is going to be around how and why you pivoted your business, say March 15th of this year. Everybody knows what happened about that date, and the entire country and the entire world basically shut down, and everybody was left thinking, what do I do, right? And so that coined phrase now, pivot, is captured really nicely when you talk about a business and what you're really good at. You might be really good at investing in real estate. You might be great at drinking or making drinks, right?
Yeah.
And so what happened, right? And so when did you decide, I guess, and what did you decide to do when March 15th rolled around this year? Jeri?
So you can imagine on the investing side, it took a big gulp. We were all very nervous about what was going to happen in the market and how the market would change. On the day-to-day business operations, we worked from home. We had been working for a while on getting our tenants and our owners all on a digital platform, and that COVID working from home situation forced them to do it, which actually was a really big benefit for our business. Today we have 80% of our tenants are registered on our online platform, and every month about 78% of them pay that way, which helped us become more efficient in our business, and it was something we wanted to do anyway, so it kind of catapulted that to happening, which was interesting for us. We have maintenance staff who enter people's apartments, and so we had to take precaution with our maintenance staff and our construction staff, asking people, what everybody's used to hearing these days, the same questions, and just making sure that our staff were safe with what they had to do on a day-to-day basis. We do virtual tours for not only sales, but apartment rentals. So before COVID, 3D virtual tours and, even Zoom calls with your client was a thing that happened sometimes, maybe on higher priced homes. And now that's how we do all of our sales and rentals, almost all of them. And it's working really well. I think people are, I think using Zoom for meetings at first was a little clunky and weird. And now everybody, instead of asking if you want to meet, they say, when do you want to set up a Zoom call? So it's really helped our business move forward with technology in a way that we were hoping to do anyway. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, great. Zach? I don't know if you don't know what Zach's story is during this, then you obviously weren't reading the paper or watching the news. So, Zach, why don't you just walk us through, your decision to completely shift from making beer and whiskey and vodka to what you were doing?
Yeah, well, really to kind of spell it out, we have three distinct businesses. We have our beer manufacturing business, we have our spirits manufacturing business, and then we have our tap room, bar, restaurant business. And so that's what was immediately affected. We had to close our doors, and I had to, send all of my staff home. And I think of our staff as a team. We all work together. And so to be able to have to tell people that are on our team, hey, I can't employ you right now because we're closed. It was a really hard decision to make. And that was, just the first instinct, hey, I can't have you here. But then it gave me a few days to really think, what could I do to fix this situation? And we saw there was a need for hand sanitizer out there. It was hard to get, and I thought, well, we can do that. And so I was able to call everybody back and say, hey, you're not going to be serving people behind the bar, but you can come bottle hand sanitizer with us and label bottles and help us give them out. And it was a great success. We had a ton of fun with it. And we first started just doing it in small 50 milliliter bottles. When those are gone, we started buying bigger bottles, 10 ounce, 12 ounce. We found some pumps. None of our bottles were ever the same because we just bought everything we could find. And there were some great people that donated some bottles to us. Highland Dairy donated tons of milk jugs for us. The community supported us as well. And then when I had the idea, we should put this on tap. I thought it'd be this fun, quirky thing, and we'd do like a half barrel and it'd be over. And then there were people that were in line 5 blocks to come fill up their half-gallon jugs. It was unbelievable. I think we went through 350 gallons the very first day we did it. Now we've been doing it every Friday, and so people still come in to get their hand sanitizer on tap, and we still give out the little 8-ounce bottles we have now that were donated by Cargill every single day. So people come in, go ahead and take your hand sanitizer.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Mr. Mapes?
Well, after being in business 23 years, the COVID pandemic was not the first time there's an external force that impacted our business. We had to survive through the dot-bomb time, 1999, 2000. We had to survive the 9/11 downturn that happened, and then also the 2008. And we used that experience when the pandemic hit in March. And I don't know how many of you can remember what event triggered where you think, wait, this might be for real. They might be serious. And for me, it was the Creighton basketball game at the Big East tournament. And they stopped it at halftime. And I said, well, this must be serious. They stopped a perfectly good game at halftime. But I think we would have come back.
Yeah, I think you want it, yeah.
But the most important thing, I think, for us is we were able to react quickly and not frozen with indecision or with weighing too many options. It's nice if you could sit there and contemplate every single possible opportunity or alternative for you, but making a decision is the most important thing. And that's what we did. We made a decision, we plowed ahead. We had to actually start reading legislation like the FFCRA and the CARES Act. And I can tell you how many pieces of federal legislation I've read in the last 20 years, and now it's 3. And before 2020, it was 0. And but it was important. It was important for us. It was important for our clients, and that allowed us to switch from just being more of an outsourced HR, but also to being a way of helping our clients to navigate the coming storm with the finances and the availability of different finances with the federal government.
Awesome.
I'm a client of Mike's, and the service that he and his team provided during this to help get all of our paperwork ready for the government, assistance that was out there was absolutely invaluable.
Awesome. So I know we want to always paint this great picture as a business owner and as an entrepreneur of success and what that looks like, and you want to try to convey that to your team and keep morale high. But when that time came in March and April and May, and those negative thoughts start to creep into your head, like, are we gonna make it, right? Tell us a little bit about what that process was like, maybe just mentally. How straining was that? Take us down that rabbit hole of the negativity that would creep in when something like that happens, and the decision that you made to keep moving forward. Anybody, feel free to jump in. We don't have to go in order.
I can remember kind of the cascading effects after this happened, because I mentioned we have the 3 distinct businesses, and with bars being closed, we probably had $100,000 in inventory of beer that was in kegs that was already sold and out there. And the distributors all wanted us to buy that beer back. And that's just frightening. I don't have an extra 100 grand laying around to buy back beer that was already sold. So there was a couple sleepless nights. I can say we ended up working out and we did kind of a 50-50 thing. So the distributor ate half and we ate half. And that's was still tough to eat, but it was a great negotiation. And the upside is the canned beer business grew because people were going to the grocery store and buying beer. Problem with that is now that there's a can shortage.
Yeah.
And we're struggling right now to get enough cans to put our beer in. So 2020 is still happening.
Yeah, it wasn't just 90 days, right?
Yeah,
It's still happening. Yeah. Jeri, what about yourself?
Well, I also lived through the downturn in 2008, 2010 in the real estate market, and I was in Phoenix, not Omaha, when that happened. So it was a lot harder than here. And so, I kind of went back to that time and realized that we got through it. I think one of the definitions of an entrepreneur is you find the need and fill it. You adapt to what the times are and just make it happen. And so while my husband and I had that mentality, we had to convey it to our staff, and people were scared. People were struggling working from home because it wasn't something we had done before. And so just giving them a lot of encouragement that we'll get through this together. I actually ended up getting COVID. It wasn't a big deal for me, but I think that actually helped my staff. It was months ago. I'm probably the safest person now. It was months ago, but I think that like me having it and getting over it in a couple days was actually helpful for the staff, because some of them were like a lot of people, if you get it, you have a death sentence, and so I think that experience actually was very helpful for the morale of our company. But yeah, just letting people know, times can be hard. We'll do everything that we can to keep this going and to keep, help make everything work for you and your families. I thought of something and I just forgot it. I'll think of it while you're thinking.
Well, when halftime came and they stopped the game, we pretty much started right away with some actions. And because all of our clients have employees, we were speaking with our clients, and of course, what you just mentioned, the concerns, and we were able to see what was going on with a lot of them, and a lot of them had to reduce staff, because if the city said you had to close up your bar or close up your restaurant, you really don't have much of a choice. Dentist offices, chiropractors, everybody. And what we did is, I think we are trying to communicate well. I'm looking for nods. And we gave everyone, we knew we had to make a change. We had to make a change quickly. And so we asked for volunteers. We said, who would like to reduce their hours by 10%? And who would like to reduce their wages by 10%? And I purposely said, I would prefer you all reduce your wages by 10% because we still need you. Our work didn't go down. The amount of work that we had didn't go down, but I also didn't think that'd be fair just to have someone work for 10% less but then keep using them for the same amount of hours. And I think we had, I know we had a couple of people who took us up on both. And as we continue to communicate with our clients and we saw which way it was going, that allowed us then to adjust, and we were eventually, it turned out much better than we thought. But at the time, on April 1st, right before the CARES Act, or right before the PPP loans hit, it looked like everyone was looking over a cliff. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like to me. And I don't know what would have happened, and I don't know what would have happened without the PPP loans for the whole country, frankly. Yeah. That's just.
Mike, that's exactly what I was going to say, is when that came and we were able to be some of the first people to get it. Luckily, we had a great accounting staff and a great bookkeeping staff in our office, and they were all over it. So we got them really quickly, and we didn't have to reduce any salaries or hours. And when that money came through, we let everybody know that this will sustain us, for a good amount of time. And that was very helpful to morale and to our morale as the owners, because you do think you don't want to let anybody go, because we're also a small business and everybody's family. And that's the last thing that we want to do. But I have small kids who need to eat, and so you start having those kind of thoughts that you never want to have as a business owner. And then also being in property management, when the bartenders and the waiters and waitresses aren't getting paid, they're not paying their rent. And so that was really fearful for our staff and a lot of our clients as well, which is still an ongoing thing. We still have eviction moratoriums, which, we want to help anybody that needs help, and we're very willing to help people that call us and ask us for help. We have a lot of different programs we offer for tenants, even kind of like a rent abatement, put it to the back of your rent. We'll do whatever we can to keep people in. But if people are starting to learn that they don't have to pay and they can't get evicted. And so most owners, I think it's over 90% of property owners in the US own 4 or less units. And so there are people, like everyday people, that can't afford 2 mortgages if there's no rent coming in, at least not for very long. And so we're kind of having a little bit of that right now in my business, and the owners of the properties are, still scared because there's an eviction moratorium until the end of December if it's COVID related, but the courts aren't checking that right now, and they're just, nobody can do evictions. And so we're kind of looking for that next boost to the economy, which is supposed to have something for investors that own rental properties. And if it doesn't, we're going to see another really big hit coming after the first of the year, I think. So hopefully that's coming, but yeah. I'm with you. I don't know what the economy, our business or the economy in general would have looked like without that stimulus.
Yeah. So how do you manage that? How do you manage that internally and personally when external factors are affecting things that you're doing on a daily basis, right? I mean, there's nothing that you did wrong, you didn't cause this, you didn't make this happen, but you still have to find a way to adapt and to change to that. So we want to hear about the mindset of what it takes to be an entrepreneur, because it's not easy. Right? You hear about the success stories, but when external factors are coming into your business and making it difficult for you to do your day-to-day activities, what do you do?
Well, the Kauffman Center for Entrepreneurship in Kansas City, they describe the definition of entrepreneurship. It sounds like a very frou-frou name, but in essence, what it means is just to make happen. And once I found out that that's what entrepreneurship meant, I thought, that's right, because that's what we do. We just make things happen. And I just think that the easiest way to do it is to focus on the things that I have control over. And the Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the circle of influence, and then the circle of concern. And I might be concerned that there's COVID and everyone's going around and getting sick and they're shutting down the economy, but there's not a whole lot I can do. That's in my circle of concern. My circle of control are the things that we could do here. So that I would just try to focus my energies on that. And if I found myself spinning my wheels and getting anxious, I would ask myself, is it because I can't act? Is it because I can't do something? Because if that's the case, then it's outside of my circle of control. It's in my circle of concern. I just try to just leave it, ignore it.
I think that's really well put. I think the biggest thing I've learned over the last 20 years of owning breweries and distilleries is to only worry about what you can control. Because if you can't control it, you can't let it eat you up. You just really have to stay down, keep your head down, focus on what you control. And I also like to focus on the positive. When there are negative things going on, you can almost find something positive in every single situation. And that keeps my mind right by having those positive thoughts.
Both of those are really well put, and I agree with both of those. I think one of the things that when I'm not having positive thoughts and I do get down is, my employees. I feel a huge responsibility to all of my employees, and some days that's what gets you out of bed and put one foot in front of the other, and then do what, like you said, do what you can do, focus on the positive things, but then also look for opportunities. So you did that really well. In 2008, when I was in real estate in a crash in Arizona, I switched my business to doing short sales and became one of the best short sale agents in Arizona and the best one in Omaha when I moved back here, the only one in Omaha when I moved back here. So there's always opportunity. For us, we didn't need to shift anything because our businesses were still essential businesses and people still need a place to live. And, so we didn't have to switch the business model, but we definitely brainstormed some ideas in case we did have to, what maybe would be something else that could keep things going. So,
Absolutely.
and also faith. I have my faith.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's things outside of our control and we just have to trust that it's the plan. It's what's supposed to happen, so.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, I know we're still in the middle of 2020, but what did you learn? What have you learned over the last 6 months, 8 months? And then to piggyback off of that, how are you going to implement that moving forward? So what do your plans look like, both financially and, business-wise? What does that look like based on what you've been able to learn and accomplish over the course of the last 6 months? Don't all jump up at once. It's okay.
Well, you can volunteer somebody.
I can volunteer somebody? Well, Mike.
I don't really learn too well. I seem to repeat a lot of the same mistakes. I guess the one thing that became apparent to me is what a good team we had here and how everyone just was always asking what they could do and everyone was willing to pitch in and work hard no matter what it took. And that was a part that I guess was nice because it is somewhat lonely. You're thinking that everything's everything would be on my shoulders, but everyone here just pitched in and lightened the load, and that's probably the best thing about the whole process.
I saw the exact same thing. I had people that have, the only thing they've ever done in their career is, bartend, serve, and they were doing just about anything they could do to help Brickway, particularly hand sanitizer, but there are a lot of other small jobs. I think one thing about the bars and restaurants in Omaha now, they are the cleanest they've ever had in the last 20 years. That's really great. And I'm looking into the future. We spent a lot of energy doing cash flow analysis from now through the end of 2021. And I just made the guess that I think come June of 2021, I feel like we're going back to somewhere level of normalcy where we have concerts back and have sports back that'll help drive traffic back to the old market and really bring our bar business back to where it was. And so I just need to manage cash really well, and doing that exercise gives me a lot of confidence that we're in a good place.
In addition to those things, we are now better prepared for the digital world than we've ever been. Like I said earlier, our hand was forced in that direction, and it's actually been really great. It has made us more efficient, and our staff's enjoying it. And one thing that was really weird through all of this is the residential real estate side of our business kept going. Omaha is actually the #1 market in the whole country because we have the lowest volume of available homes per buyers wanting them. And so being able to do digital walkthroughs and 3D virtual tours and things like that has been really helpful for our business. And I think it's just going to continue to be tools that we use and grow. And that part of it has been really good for our business.
Yeah. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but what happens if we get to January and February and there's no stimulus package and we see an uptick in COVID cases? What do you do?
So in my industry, we'll start having foreclosures and people defaulting on mortgages. And that I could talk about that for hours, how it affects politics and everything. But in the short version, On our real estate side, we'll pivot, we'll do short sales again. You know, we'll buy homes at the auction for our investors that have money. In a down market, there's always a lot of real estate opportunity. So we'll do that. On the property management side, there will still be people that need that. And one of the great things about construction, my dad said this, my dad's a contractor, no matter what happens, when you can build things and you can fix things, you'll always have work. So we'll just focus more on the things that have to keep going even in a down market. You know, with hopefully being able to adjust so we don't have to let go of anybody. But
You know, we're planning for that because that could happen. And so we're intentionally keeping our kegged beer inventory very, very low. It's literally almost just in time. Oh, there's an order, we'll get it to you. So we don't have that big inventory hanging out there. And if that were to happen, we can also expect that packaged liquor sales will go up, packaged beer sales will go up. And even if they close their dining room, we can still sell packaged to go. And in that model, I think that, you know, we can survive, and we'll probably, you'll be making a lot more hand sanitizer. So kind of crack, drink, repeat.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I know exactly what's going to happen in the future.
Mike, tell us.
that's awesome.
I
Tell
do.
us.
Whatever we don't expect is going to happen, and I think everyone else knows that too. What we can do, again, inside my circle of control, is we can plan. And there's a bunch of tools out there for businesses for planning. The cash flow management is critical. Anyone who's not using a daily or weekly cash tracking spreadsheet, I would highly recommend that. It's something that we've been using for years in our business. And there's also a book out there called Red, Yellow, Green. And so when you set up your plan and you come up with these key metrics that you want to hit, and if you hit your metrics, and that means it's green. If it's a green light, it's good. If you're a little bit below that, it's yellow. And if it's yellow, then you get to decide now, today, when you're not under pressure, well, what am I going to do if I don't hit that number? And then you'll have 2 or 3 sets of activities that you can do. And then if it's red, that means it's really not even close to the number that it needs to be. Well, then again, you have a chance to think it through when it's not emotional and it's not as pressing. And so that red, yellow, green process to me is a really good one, a very good, simple one for planning, because the only thing I'm going to expect on January 1st, 2021 is it's going to be unexpected. That's the only thing I can expect.
So looking forward to 2021, what's one thing that you want? One thing that you want from your business or need your business to do in 2021? You've got 3 months to figure it out, but I'm asking now, what do you want for next year?
One thing I want is for the real estate market to not change, because I have one project that needs to sell next year before we're completely out of the clear. I guess within my business, the main thing is I want us to be able to continue to adapt to whatever it is and to remain profitable, and at minimum not have to let go of any employees regardless of what happens.
Right now, I'm working on an online sales platform and kind of making my way through. It's difficult because as a manufacturer, I can't directly set up an online sales of beer and spirits. My personal focus is still spirits because they're easier to ship because beer's bulky and heavy. And so actually right before I came here, I got licensed or I submitted my licensing for the state of Illinois, which is a part of a group I'm working with that will be able to ship our spirits then throughout the country. That way we really cast our web, and it's easier than if I try to go get individually licensed in every state, and find distributors in every state. It's really unmanageable for a company really as small as ours. So I think this will really help us a lot in 2021 to grow in a responsible way.
Well, if you need any help keeping that beer inventory down, I'm willing to help.
Okay. Appreciate that.
You just send them over here.
Yeah.
We'll drink it.
The only thing that we can do is plan and then keep working the plan, because it's really easy to focus on the negative, and as Zac and Jeri had talked about before, it's more important as business owners to focus on the positive, because that's what we need. And go back to the dot bomb, go back to the 9/11 and 2008. We got through it. We're going to get through this. And it better be by January 1st, 2021, right?
Awesome. Give me the motivation. What gets you out of bed in the morning and keeps you going?
My wife. She kicks me out of bed and says, get going.
Well,
So
that's
the
the next
EOS thing
question.
is true. On
It
the
is.
EOS thing, Joe Frost
Yeah.
said that she's above him on
Yes.
on the people
Oh,
chart.
yeah,
Yes, it is true.
absolutely.
For me, it's kind of what Jeri said. I have a team to take care of. And so we need to make the right choices, and we need to keep moving the ball forward, because we have families with every team member, and we need to make sure that they're happy, healthy, and have what they need. And I'm getting old enough now where I'm actually thinking about retirement. And if I execute this right, I might be able to play a lot more golf.
Hey, there we go. There we go. What about you, Jeri?
So my number one thing is the employees. I feel like I owe them a big responsibility to get up in the morning and make things happen. And then the number two thing, which is a double-edged sword, is a future for my kids. But that's also something that really is hard for me to walk out the door in the morning and leave my, my little ones with whoever is watching them that day. So that goes both ways. But that's been motivation for me to better time block and better prioritize so I can spend more time with them, while at the same time, sticking to my responsibilities for my employees.
What do you three do to manage all of the hats? I mean, you walk into the office and you have a plan for the day, and the next thing you know, you've got your CFO coming over and telling you that, hey, we need to talk about this. And then you've got somebody at the bar saying, hey, by the way, did you know that this shipment didn't go out, right? Or you have virtual tour and realize that somebody completely messed it up. Whatever the situation is, what do you do to manage those hats?
I do two things. So I read a book called The One Thing. And once you figure out what that one thing is, all of the things you spend your energy on should be driving towards that. So every week I block out my time to work on things that drive me towards that one thing. Then I have a separate sheet that are my 1 week goal, my 90-day goal, and my 5-year goal. And about every few weeks, I kind of change that moving target so we're driving towards that 5-year plan in a smart way. And what I try not to do is get caught in the email trap. You could just sit and email people all day long, and the more you email them, the more they email you back. And so that's why I try to use my blocks of time to just shut my computer and focus on those things that are driving the company in the right direction.
That's a great book, and I wish I would have implemented it as well as you have, but I'm working towards that. So for me, time blocking is a key, and being, really specific about that. Like, my husband is my worst. Austin knows. He interrupts me more than anybody else during the day. And if it's important to him, he thinks it should be important to everybody else right at that moment. And I have to say, I'm not working on that right now. Let's talk about that later. Or yesterday, for example, I had my day completely time blocked and it got completely messed up. And so, we had to talk about, he went home with the kids so that I could stay late and do the stuff that I had planned that day for that day and actually get it done. So time blocking is big, and then also hiring the right people is very important, because, with 5 different businesses, we have at least 5 key employees in each area, 5 different managers, in some areas more than that. And having the right people in place so that they can take on a lot of that stuff. So if somebody comes to me, for example, on the way here, I got a text message from a client who knows who he should go to, but he went to me, so I roll in the other person so that he gets reminded that this other person can answer. So it helps take some of the stuff off of my plate.
Quite a few years ago, I went to one of our trade associations had a national convention, and one of the breakout sessions was time management skills. Oh my God, that's perfect. I think this is back in my Ben Franklin days, Ben Franklin notebook days. I think everything was and so I'm sitting there listening to the speaker, hoping for something magical that will help me better manage my time. And the speaker asked, how many of you are really bad at managing your time? And almost every hand went up because that's why they were there. And then how many of you have either paid for training or bought other materials to try to help you in the past and it hasn't worked? And about every other hand went up. And the guy said, you know what, you just have to get used to being really bad at managing time. It's kind of what he said, and I think he was half joking, but so I try to do really simple things. What Andy Neary talked about today is I wasn't all of the points that he mentioned, but the night before, I'll sit down and think about what's the one thing, which is also a great book, what's the one thing I need to do tomorrow, and then I start listing, and this is my memory book right here. And I just start listing them, and then I try to check them off the next day.
Awesome. Zach, I don't mean to leave you out on this question, but we do have two owners that work with their spouses. What is that dynamic? how do you leave work at work when you're going home and you're raising kids and trying to live your life with the same person that is also your partner in crime at the office?
So I don't know that it's completely possible to leave work at home. Now, there was a mentor that you would know from EO that did a very good job of that. He had a much bigger business than me, so I'm sure it is possible. But, you know, work, when you're the owner, it's your life. It's not just 9 to 5 and you go home. So it's always there. If something that caused emotion happened that day, it's definitely there, especially at night when it's just the two of you and you can talk about it. Our poor daughters, especially our oldest daughter, when we talk about work at the dinner table, she rolls her eyes. And like yesterday she went, and so that's a good reminder for us to leave it at home or wait until they go to bed and really spend time with them. But it's hard, and marriage is hard, and adding to that, you know, children, and adding to that your babies, your work baby, you know, is hard. And there has to be, for us, I had to, in this past year, really define what my role was in the companies, because, you know, being the owner, you feel bottom line responsibility. I think that's important for all of us to take bottom line responsibility. But my husband's there too, and he can help with that responsibility. So we had a baby. Our children are adopted, and our youngest is 1, just turned 1 last week. And so, you know, that requires more time than maybe a 16-year-old child does. And so I had to be really specific about what I was the best at in our business and what I wanted to do and what I was willing to do, and say no to the rest of it, which was interesting for us in our marriage because he wasn't used to me saying no to things in the business, but I had to, and we had to make an agreement. We even signed some of our agreements so that I can show him signed this. I'm not doing it. And you know, some days he'll call me on his way from work and I'll be with the kids already. And I'll just tell him I don't have the capacity for that conversation right now. And this wouldn't work for everybody, but this is our relationship. If he keeps going, I hang up on him and I don't answer. He calls me back and then we talk about it later. You know, but you really have to, I think, decide what you can and can't handle and separate that. And then also on that same tone, like date nights, you know, and like family time and put the phone down and reminding one another, we agreed to this time for family time, just put it down and we'll still be there. It's a dynamic for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's also strengthened our marriage too, you know. So
Well, and Mike is looking at you saying, yep, I we used to do all that.
Carolina's hung up on me, she must have read the same book. You've read. Carolina and I have been married 32 years, and we've worked together probably 28 of them. And I know we're better at it today than we were 20-some years ago. There's one rule we have, which might be a little bit strange, but it's one of the things that we adhere to is once we get in bed, we don't talk about money and we don't talk about work. And for example, I know when the COVID hit in March or in April, when everything was still up in the air, there was a lot of frustration still, and so we were both in bed, and then one of us mentioned something about money, and we turned on the lights, we got up, we went onto the kitchen table, and we talked about it, and then we talked it through, and then went back to bed.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that we do that I think helps, but otherwise, it's been pretty easy working with Carolina.
Let's get, she's out there, isn't she? Okay.
I've got an earpiece and she's telling me what to say.
Telling you exactly what to say.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, let me check the chat real quick. Okay. Any other questions in here? Otherwise, we'll let these fine people leave and get on with their day. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much, guys, for everything. I really appreciate your time and your energy and all that you do. So we will see you soon. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.